Steve Beecham. Steve. Yay. So Hal Coleman told me that we were going to rate this speech based on how many people came up to the altar. And so I get 2 points if you're kneeling. I get 5 if you're laying down. What I want to talk to you about tonight is an interesting topic for me, and it's a personal topic. And what I want to know is, have you made the shift? Have you made the shift from the way it used to be to the way it is now? In other words, you know, like the dinosaurs, they didn't make the shift. You know, like when you're exercising and you're about ready to quit, and all of a sudden that second wind kicks in, and now you made the shift. During the Depression, the way things were in 1920 and the way things were in 1940, they weren't the same thing. You had to make a shift. And so I think a lot of us are in that right now. Have we made the shift from the way things used to be a couple years ago to the way things are now? And so I think the reason why we haven't made the shift is because we're scared. Is anybody scared like me? I've been scared. And so because we're scared, we have this fear, right? We have this fear, and we don't know what to do. We're so scared. And I went to the Federal Reserve has these great meetings, and I went to one last week, and the lady presented a survey on happiness. And she has done these surveys for all these countries around the world, and what she found out was the countries that had the least amount of shift going on had the highest degree of happiness. So places like here and in China, where we had a huge growth or a huge letdown, there's a lot of unhappiness. Places like Sweden and Finland and Switzerland, lots of happiness. And I thought about it, that's probably what we're going through, right? There's a shift, we're scared, there's fear. But fear is nothing but what's the unanswered question. In other words, if you don't know the answer to a question, there's fear. And your question may be, what's my next job? Your question might be, how am I going to pay my mortgage? And because we don't know the answer, we have all this fear. Anybody relate to that? I know I can. So, I think that if you think about fear, we have to think about our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. So our conscious mind is, I see y'all out there, y'all see me up here, you've got the people sitting at your table, we're all conscious about that, right? But our subconscious mind is all those thoughts that are going on in our head. And one of those things is, we got this negative thought going on, right? And we got to get rid of this negative thought. And so, it says in Proverbs 23:7, as a man thinketh, so is he. So if we're thinking all these negative thoughts, are we bringing all this negative stuff to us? What happens if we change our thought and we start bringing more positive stuff to us? And so I got to thinking about that, and I thought, you know what, there's a book on that. It's 1902, this guy named James Allen wrote a book, As a Man Thinketh. If you've never read it, you can download it on the internet, and it's all about how you can kind of start thinking of changing from the negative thoughts to the positive thoughts, and how you think, and how makes it the way you're going to be. And then in 1938, there was a guy named Napoleon Hill who wrote a book called Outwitting the Devil. And if you've never read that book, I highly recommend you go get that book. If you don't have the $20 to buy that book, I'll buy the book for you. And Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, like in 1937. For those of y'all that know much about Napoleon Hill, he's kind of considered one of the gurus of the self-help industry. And Think and Grow Rich has been a great book. And he wrote this book, and he spent all this time trying to teach people to think positively. Because what happened was, when he was a young guy, he came up with this idea that the way he was going to put himself through college was he was going to interview all these rich people. And when he interviewed these rich people, he was going to write these stories, and he was going to sell them these newspapers, and they were going to pay him for it, and he was going to pay for his college. But his first interview was Andrew Carnegie. And Carnegie said, I'll introduce you to all these rich people if you'll wait and not write this book. And so Napoleon Hill got introduced to all the wealthiest people in the world, the Goodyears and the Rockefellers and the Sears and Charles Schwab and the presidents. And he wrote this book, and it culminated in Think and Grow Rich. But as he was going out teaching people these principles, he realized that it wasn't staying with them, that their thought process had to change. And so what happened to him was he was in this business, and he and this guy were partners, and this partner of his owned like a magazine or newspaper, and his partner wrote an article about the mob. And the mob took this guy out. And word got to Napoleon Hill that if he didn't leave town, he was going next. So Napoleon Hill went to this cabin in West Virginia and hid out for a year and a half and lost everything he had. And that's when he wrote this book, Outwitting the Devil, because what happened was he ended up having an interview with the devil. And what he learned from this interview with the devil, which has totally changed my whole thinking, is that the devil was telling him that that's his job to put these negative thoughts in our brain. And he said, I'm just playing with you. I'm putting these negative thoughts and the people are just eating it up. 95% of the people in this country are all over it. He said, there's only a few souls I haven't won over. And so I want you to do something right now. I want you to hold your left hand up like this. And hold it where you can just barely see it out of the corner of your eye. Like it's a subconscious thing. Now hold up these fingers like the longhorns. Okay, well now those are the devil's horns. Then I want you to do this, because that's the devil talking to you. And he's saying you can't get a job. Nobody's going to buy what you're selling. You're too old. You don't have the skills. The economy's depressed. But then I want you to hold up your other hand. And I want you to do a circle. And that's going to be the halo of an angel. And these are the angel's wings. And she's telling you, yes, you can do it. I believe in you. You have a special purpose. You can be anybody you want to be. You can do anything you want to do. So you can listen to the devil, or you can listen to the angels. It's your choice. Right? You have the choice. You can have a negative thought or a positive thought. It's just a choice. And so when I read that book, I started realizing every time I had a negative thought, I was like, no, I'm not going to listen to you, babe. You're just trying to mess with me. And it helped me get through some tough times. So what I realized was that we have these tapes that play in our heads. And when we're down and out, we have these negative tapes that play in our heads. But if you talk to highly successful people, what you'll realize is they play positive tapes in their heads. So I'll tell you a story. So two rich buddies of mine, two multi-millionaire buddies of mine, invited me to go on an elk hunt out in Montana. They said, meet us at Peachtree DeKalb. So I got to Peachtree DeKalb Airport, and we proceeded to get on their G3 airplane. And we flew to Montana. When we got to Montana, we got off and got into the helicopter that took us to where we were going to elk hunt. But while I was in the plane, I decided to take that time to ask them what tapes they played in their head. So I asked my one buddy, Andy, I said, what tapes do you play in your head? He said, what are you talking about? I said, well, you know, every time you get in a situation, I think certain situations you play certain tapes. I said, but what's the overriding tape that you play in your head? He said, that's easy. I said, what is it? He said, I play, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I said, really? He said, yeah, Beach. He said, I'm always the luckiest guy in the room. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. Every time I touch anything, I think, I'm lucky. It's going to be my lucky day. I'm not playing that tape, but I need to be. My other friend, Mike, I said, Mike, what are you playing? He said, I can do it better than anybody else. I said, why do you play that tape? He said, when I was 16, I moved out of the house. My mother got remarried. I didn't like my new father-in-law, whatever, stepfather.
So I moved into my pickup truck. I was 16. I lived in my pickup truck. I took a shower in the gymnasium at the school. I got jobs doing subcontractor work, framing and roofing and stuff. And every time I was working with these guys, I'd figure out a better way to do it. And they kept saying, man, you can always figure out a better way for us to do it faster and make more money. He said, I just believe that now. Every time I ride down the street and I see a business, I think about how I can do it better and make more money. 2 multimillionaires playing different tapes than some of us. We need to change those tapes. Agree? So I read this book last year, and this guy was talking about what I'm going to call the bowl. And he said, if you'll take, any time that you have thoughts going on in your head, if you'll take all of the negative thoughts that old devil's telling you about and put them in the bowl, pretend your head's a bowl, your subconscious mind, your bowl, and take all those things that are good about you from the angel and put those in a bowl and mix those up with the idea of whatever the answer is you're looking for, then your subconscious mind will deliver it to you. So he says that the thing you have to do, though, is you have to kind of know what it is what's the answer? What am I looking for? I've got this fear. What am I looking for? Because if I can get the answer, I don't have the fear anymore. So you got to be looking for this answer, like, where am I going to go to work? Then take all the negative stuff that you've been hearing in your head about why you haven't gotten a job. And then take all the positive stuff tell yourself the positive thoughts and think about things positive about you, why somebody should hire you and you should have that job. And put all that in the mixing bowl and sleep on it and think about it. And all of a sudden it'll deliver it to you. So I'm going to give you 2 ideas on how that's helped me. So while I was preparing for this speech, I was thinking, how can I tell y'all this devil thing? And I was like, I only have certain things to work with, my hands, my feet, I could do this. You know, what can I work with? And I started putting that in my mind. The next morning I woke up and I just kind of did this. And then I went, what can I do over here? And then I did this. It's crazy, right? But it worked. So my final story, I'll tell you about my last $2. So I've been in the mortgage business for about 20-something years, and the mortgage business, as you know, is not very good. So I had written this book, and I was trying to figure out if it was time for me to maybe transition from the mortgage business to the speaking business. And so I decided I was going to put it in the mixing bowl. And so I started asking, what is this the thing for me to do? My question is, do I need to go into this speaking stuff full time? Well, people pay me to stand up here and talk. And so I started putting all the negatives. No, they're not going to pay you. Who knows you? You're nobody. Well, maybe if he's passionate about it, maybe it'll work out. And I started mixing it. And I kept saying, I just need a sign. I need something. So there's this company, Edward Jones. Y'all probably heard about Edward Jones. And so I found out that this guy, Edward Jones, up in St. Louis, was sort of the southeastern regional guy. And I thought, well, if I can get to him, maybe he'll give me an opportunity to speak in front of some Edward Jones guys. And I bugged this guy, y'all, for months. I begged him to come let me speak for free. Because I felt like if I could get in there, if you just put me in, coach, maybe I could score a basket, right? So he finally said, okay. He said, how much time do you need? I said, an hour and a half. About a week before the presentation, he emails me and says, you only got an hour. Don't have much time. The night before, he emails me, he's down to 30 minutes. It's still my chance, right? So it's at Invesco, downtown Atlanta. So I drive down to Invesco, and I get down to Invesco, and for those of y'all know, I've got this Hummer, and I've got a tire on top, and I can't park in a regular parking spot. And I pull up, and I see a valet guy, and I'm going, I can't do that. I can't park in the parking thing. Then there was a space that opened up over here, and I slid in on the side street, and I got out. And I pulled out my pocket, and I had 2 $1 bills. My last $2. So I reached in the cup, and I got a couple of quarters out, and I put it in the thing to park. And I walked over there, and the guy said, valet guy said, they're going to tow your car. And I said, why? He said, because it doesn't work, and they don't want to fix it because that way they can tow people's car and get money out of it. I was like, man, I only got $2. He said, I always wanted me a Hummer. He said, bring it on over. So I parked my Hummer over there. I took my Hummer over there, and I went upstairs. I told him, I said, dude, I only got $2. I always wanted me a Hummer, I told you. So I went upstairs, and I got upstairs, and he said, man, we're down to 5 minutes. What are you going to say in 5 minutes? So anyway, I started talking, and I got about 5 minutes. I said, I guess I'm through. And the guy on the front row said, no, I want to hear more. I want to hear more. And I got 15 minutes. I said, well, I guess I'm through. And a couple other guys said, no, keep talking. I did my whole hour and a half. I had 50 books. I had 50 books with me, and I said, if anybody wants to buy a book, they're $20 a piece. I sold all 50 books. I went downstairs. The security guard and the valet guy are standing by the security station. And I walked in there. My pockets were full of $20 bills. And I laid all the money up on the counter. And the security guy goes, man, them people in Invesco got all the money, don't they? I said, I got to tell y'all, when I came here, I only had $2 in my name. I had no money in my checking account, no more room on my charge card. That was my last $2. I didn't know where I was going to eat tomorrow. And I said, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay those $2 forward. So I pulled those two $1 bills out of that stack, and I gave one to each one of them. Then I gave the valet guy 20 because I didn't have a 5, right? All I had was 20s. So the security guard said, man, that's awesome. He said, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the numbers with my dollar. He said, if I win, he said, I'm going to split it with you. And I said, I tell you what, you play the numbers. And if you win and you split it with me, my family will pay for your family's side of the vacation, and we'll go to 2 families. Man, you're awesome. Thank you. And I said, but I want y'all to pay that forward. And I got in the car, and I'm going down Peachtree Road, and my phone rings, and it's a long-distance number, and I'm thinking it's another creditor. So I pick up the phone. I said, hello. The guy said, where's my dollar? I said, who is this? He says, I'm the other security guy. You gave them $1. You didn't give me $1. Where's my dollar? I said, man, that was my last $2. He said, you know, I heard that. He said, my wife told me this morning when I left the house that I had to get my house refinanced before I came back home tonight. And he said, I've been trying to figure out what I was going to do. And they just told me that story. He said, will you refinance my house for me? And we made another $1,000. Thank you.